So, hello, welcome back to another episode of the SDWT Podcast. Today, as you can see on the left side of the screen, we're gonna go through some Reddit things. Yesterday, we have finished up with New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. Actually, a pretty amazing book. I can just only suggest it. It is amazing. I've enjoyed it. I've liked it. I find it amazing. But everything has an end. Sometimes it's the beginning of something new. I think this is even a quote. Or something, I don't know. Reply to your post in Stoicism. When my 7-year relationship came to an end in 2012. I might have actually read that, I don't know. Any book with a lonely, depressed woman protagonist. By the way, something that I maybe have seen, I don't want to say that I've discovered it or whatnot, because, it's definitely not something too huge, but the things that I'm consuming definitely influence how I'm feeling. So for example, a few days ago, I've watched one of the best animes I have ever watched. But it really is a drama. I like drama movies and series and yada 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 because I think that it's pretty emotional, and I think most often this makes it better or quite good actually. And in this case, it's been amazing. It really has been. But as I said, pretty dramatic, pretty sad as well. And it also reminded me of certain situations that I just really know quite deeply and exactly. And so it's been tough for me, and it really put me into a certain place, One could be talking about depression. One could, if one wants to do so. In the end, it's good series, but I think one needs to think about the fact that media and things that we just consume, whether it is music or series or movies, audiobooks, books, they all influence us, in a good way or maybe in a bad way. Doesn't matter. Well, it does matter, So one can also choose to listen to good songs, songs with a good vibe, or just watch series that inspire one to do something, to work out, to work harder, to achieve something. And I think, these things, media that we're consuming, can play a huge role in just becoming a certain person, a certain person that you want to become. Anyway. Today I worked against my depression. I have struggled badly with executive function for most of my adult life, but today I got up and walked my dog early, did all my chores, applied for jobs, made an entire full-color art piece, and talked to my friends. It was the first day in a long time where I felt like I was making the most of things, and I hope to continue on a positive track. To others struggling with mental illness, I wish you the best. Added, thank you for the awards. Actually amazing that people tribute awards to this person, even though they don't know this person, It's just a random post on fucking Reddit, on some fucking random subreddit, but still people see it and people admire it and people appreciate that, and they decide to actually put real money into the whole thing and give this person awards. I don't actually know if you can just benefit in any way from these. Let's see, actually. Thank you, stranger, shows the award. How do I award? Anyway, so I, by the way, think that there is money involved. I'm not quite sure, to be honest, but I guess so. So anyway, you are not a machine. You are more like a garden. You need different things on different days. A little sun today, a little less water tomorrow. You have fallow and fruitful seasons. It is not a design flaw. It is wiser than perpetual sameness. What does your garden need today? The thing is, and this is a huge problem, do we really know what we need? Or do all of us know what we need on certain days or in certain moments? No, really not. And this is the whole thing and the whole problem about this shit. I don't know what I need right now. I can only assume and then try and see if it is working or not. And when it works, yeah, fine, it's amazing, great. And when it doesn't, well, I have to look for something else. But then I try something else. And then it works, or it doesn't. And sometimes people get discouraged, because they think they should have already been able to find something they need, but they weren't able to. And so this is good advice, not for everyone. And I think it also needs a bit more context. And I do think this is the beauty of excellently written pieces, whether it is a quote, whether it is a book, whether it is a paragraph, whether it is an article, whatever it might be, when it is written in a way that does not leave any doubt, and it doesn't leave you with any thought of, okay, in this situation or in that situation, it could be in this or that or whatever way, then I think it is a pretty amazing piece. Maybe this is just my quality kind of thought, my aspects of quality writing. Some people might be thinking about things in a completely different way, and I accept that, and I can totally see it as well. But yeah, I think that amazing, that there is a certain beauty in words. Life hurts. Changed my life around, but I'm struggling mentally. I was doing bad things before, I've always had bad anger issues, and I was going to end up dead or in jail if I didn't change my life. Stoicism helped me a lot on how to learn to control myself and become a good person. I can say I'm on a good path in my life now. However, I hate myself because I know who I really am deep inside, which is not a good person. I've been depressed and anxious in a bad state of mind. I can tell that all this progress will go down the toilet soon once I snap and do something stupid. Don't want to feel like this anymore. Any advice would be appreciated. Thank you. Let's actually see what people say. Check out videos with James Clear. He wrote a book, Atomic Habits. By the way, the German translation of Atomic Habits is one of those translations where I just have to say, no, I think it is, what is it? I don't remember. It's something with 1%, Maybe this is something in a book. I don't really know. But it is for sure not that great of a translation of Atomic Habits. Whatever atomic means. So an atom, or the nature of matter and the atomic level. Or forming a single irreducible unit or component in a larger system. A society made up of atomic individuals. Yeah, I understand the whole translation problem, and it's not that easy. Anyway, there's a section that I think is extremely relevant to your issue and issue a lot of us have. He talks specifically to behavior change, but this point I think is valid for much more past just behavior change. The idea is that changing habits is hard without identity change. I know this is one of the, I'm just going to read it. Let's say I'm trying to lose weight. I tell myself and others I'm trying to lose weight. This implies to my subconscious that my identity is not healthy person trying to change, whereas the correct identity is I am a healthy person, and a healthy person does things to lose weight. Or I'm a person that tries to lose weight. I am a person. Period. You are your deliberate mind, the part that makes choices, the part that thinks. Your subconscious doesn't think, it feels. Your deliberate mind cannot simply force a change in your subconscious if you do it well. Blah, 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 blah. Well, I actually wanted to see some other comments, Not only one, but some, because out of one I can't say whether this was helpful or not. Because it might have been, might have also not been. Who knows that shit? This is absolutely the way I went from vaping every 5 minutes from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed to quitting cold turkey. All I did was reinforce myself whenever I wanted to smoke by saying, sometimes verbally, I am not a smoker. I've been smoke-free for almost a month now and the cravings are gone. I am not a smoker. This might actually be one of the instances where one could say, what is the saying? Just acting like you would be a certain person, even though you're not, until you become that person, Talk the walk, walk the talk, something like that. I don't know. You know what I mean. I understand what you're saying. Thank you. That's shallow. A bit. I see this all the time with newer dedicated pro-Copton. They set this immense expectation of themselves, dive deeply into the philosophy, but never quite internalize it. It causes them deep stress and anxiety over failing to embody what they rationally understand. As you know, Stoics understood that the capacity for vice is present in all of us except the sage. While the sage is a good figure against whom we may compare our actions, setting the goal of attaining a sagacious character, what the fuck that even is, worse still an expectation of doing so at all, let alone shortly after getting one's life back on track, leads to a good deal of stress over failing to reach those heights of man only attained by once every 500 fucking years. The Stoics also understood that vice is the result of false logic and ignorance. None of us have a tainted and irredeemable soul. We do not commit vice out of true malice. There is always an underlying cognitive bias or a sense to false impression. That being the case, when we commit a vicious act, we must understand that our actions were committed out of ignorance. And as one does not chastise, whatever this means, a child for ignorance, neither is it appropriate to chastise ourselves for ignorance. We must continually learn from our vicious errors and extend patience with ourselves as we would a student or child struggling with a difficult concept. So I do think in the end, it all comes down also, when you're trying to be stoic, to apply stoicism to stoicism. You know, this is a pretty meta thing, but amor fati, love faith. No matter what happens, you're gonna love it. So when you fuck up, you're still gonna love it. And there, I think, are also certain reasons why you could and should, and it's not that dumb to be okay with that and even love that. Because if you fail, if you fuck up for whatever reason, you might be able to learn something. You might be able to just, do it again and practice it again and so on. And in the end, you're just gonna be better than before. I mean, there is some ways in which failing, well, there's actually many ways in which failing can be great. It always depends on how you think about it. It always depends on how you phrase it. It always depends on how you see things, as it is with quite everything in life. This is why today I said to myself, I'm not going to be this anymore. I also have been struggling mentally with things, but I decided and said to myself that, well, first of all, I can control my mind and I can control my thoughts, which is a huge part of the whole thing. And so why shouldn't I? Why shouldn't I just be the master of things? Why should they control me if I could control them? If I want to and when I can. Of course, sometimes this is difficult. Of course, sometimes it is more difficult than on some other days. But I can, And we all have done amazing things in our lives. And so I can also say for myself that I've done some amazing things in my life as well, and I've been able to accomplish certain things as well. And so the thing is, I just want to stop being such a, crybaby, quite, I don't want to be that. So, from going, I am a depressed person, to, I am, something good. I am mentally strong. I am resilient. I don't know. Maybe resilient. This very there's, at least in my mind, not a ton of things connotated to it, I would say. Today I learned that Brisbane was originally founded as a penal colony for convicts who committed new offences after they had arrived in Australia. I see. That's amazing. But before I am ending the episode, going through Reddit may or may not be the most intelligent, smart thing to do, and therefore I'm just going to go to the SLWW site and I'm just going to go into this menu and trying to find something that is great and worth going through. Blog. Let's check out the blog. Maybe there's something pretty short, something useful. 7 intellectual YouTube lecture series to pursue lifelong learning online for free. Aha. Slow living moment, volunteer, marketing manipulation, and more. wise and mind-expanding heights from... Let's just, go through that newsletter. I don't know what it is about. I'm hoping to find something great. Let's see. Modern knowledge. The first one. Essentialism explained. How to focus on what matters. Greg McCown. I don't know. And there's a quote. Only once you give yourself the permission to stop trying to do it all, to stop saying yes to everyone, can you make your highest contribution towards the things that really matter. And this is definitely the case. Because you're going to have more space, you're going to have more energy, and you're going to have more of the capability to do those things that are indeed important to you. Certain things, and this is something that you cannot decide, have to be important for you. For example, your work, for example, eating, for example, drinking. You just have to do it. Whether you like it or not, you have to fucking do that. On the other hand, if you just do not want to do something, saying no is like smart. But on the other hand, one really needs to be sure that this is something that they do not want to have, do not want to do not want to just have to bother with at all, and so on and so forth. And second of all, then replacing it with something that is indeed important, which is kind of the whole concept and the whole idea of this thing, is essential then as well. Because why would you cancel something for something else that you're then not doing? Or maybe you're doing it, but just not in any smart way or productive way. Digital minimalism, unplugging aesthetic. Carl Newport, who is also the author of a book which might be Digital Minimalism. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, the digital minimalist philosophy, technology put to use for intentional purposes in intentional ways. That is digital minimalism. And I think, as I'm reading this quote, that there is really a ton of room for things. So when I say I'm using technology for a purpose, put to use for intentional purposes in intentional ways. Well, whatever I'm doing on my phone or with my phone, maybe also just taking it to a very small level, the apps that I'm having on my phone, they all should have a purpose, So maybe when I'm having some games on my phone or something like social media, then I am intentionally gonna use it in the way that it is gonna, so that it is gonna serve its purpose. So maybe I'm not gonna browse through Instagram all day long, wasting my time, but rather I'm gonna set aside a certain amount of time that I'm using to calm down by going through TikTok, going through Instagram. And I also do so, actually. Indeed, I know, and this just really comes down to self-awareness and just figuring things out and noticing things over time. But I am quite able to calm myself down quite a bit by just watching some TikTok videos, as funny as it may be or not. It really can help. It really does. There's actually quite a ton of quotes. This might be, I'm either gonna financial independence, retire early, my life with fire, or the blue zones. Flourishing a new understanding of well-being. The purpose of purpose. Flourishing a new understanding of well-being. Martin Seligman, issue #043. Reliving the states that make life miserable has made building the states that make life worth living less of a priority. The time has finally arrived for a science that seeks to understand positive emotion, build strength and virtue, and provide guideposts for finding what Aristotle called the good life. Martin Seligman. And also the purpose of purpose. We are obsessed with the quote-unquote why. Question as a species. Or the why question, sorry. We humans are obsessed with purpose. Which might just say, do you really need a purpose? But I do just want to quickly see what the good life by Aristotle is. And this is definitely not. What is the good life? Aristotle on the good life. The final end of human life is to flourish, to live well, to have a good life. Aha. And his definition of happiness. Happiness is the meaning and purpose of life, the whole aim and end of human existence. Is this now something good or something bad? I can't really say. Happiness depends on ourselves. Guess what? More than anybody else, Aristotle enshrines happiness as a central purpose of human life and a goal in itself. As a result, he devotes more space to the topic of happiness than any thinker prior to the modern era. Living during the same period as Mencius, with a C, but on the other side of the world, he draws some similar conclusions. That is, happiness depends on the cultivation of virtue. Though his virtues are somewhat more individualistic than the essentially social virtues of the Confucians, yet, as we shall see, Aristotle was convinced that a generally happy life required the fulfillment of a broad range of conditions, including physical as well as mental well-being. In this way, he introduced the idea of a science of happiness in the classical sense in terms of a new field of knowledge. A little background. No, I don't want to have a little background. Happiness as the ultimate purpose of human existence. Can't I just... Anyway, what is all that makes? Explains the hierarchical view of nature, no? Thus, Aristotle gives us his definition of happiness. The function of man is to live a certain kind of life, and this activity implies a rational principle, and the function of a good man is the good and noble performance of these, and if any action is well performed, it is performed in accord with the appropriate excellence. If this is the case, then happiness turns out to be an activity of the soul in accordance with virtue. So, I don't want to actually say too much about that because I do have a certain opinion and I do have a certain thought, but everything in the context of you choosing the rules, you choosing the amounts, you choosing the extent to which things have to be, everything boils down to you setting the rules and you playing with your own rules, or for your own rules, whatever you want to say, or whatever is right, I don't know. Which means, when I say, I'm working 4 hours and this is enough, this is my rule, this is what I say, this is my thought, then it is enough. And then I'm going to be happy. There are certain things that I just need to be doing, but in the end, I'm setting the rules. I'm setting the rules for what is going to satisfy me. I'm setting the rules for what is going to feel good for me and what is not going to feel good for me, besides some, physical things. I can't pretty much decide over them. It is what it is. But I decide. I decide whether just this is good for me from a mental perspective on, or that is good for me. I decide that. I decide how much I should be doing, how much I want to be doing. And this is very important, as I think. I don't know if I'm right. If I'm right. But we're going to see the next time. Bye-bye. Have a nice day.